That means you can talk.
I'm looking at the, mine says it starts in 11 minutes and 20 seconds.
It's up right now. You guys are good.
Awesome. So I'm just sound like a fool on it. Perfect. Hi. Fantastic. Ryan here once again with CactusCon crew, and I'm here with John Wade, aka Wade, who just gave an awesome talk on Linux analysis, and we're going to jump into some questions and just kind of pick his brain a little bit. But first, we're going to go ahead and select a winner. Select a winner live for Chapin Bryce's Digital Forensics book, and boop, there we go. Oh. All right, we'll choose that winner shortly. Anyway, good times.
Going strong.
Oh, live online conferences. Oh, good times. All right. Anywho, so Wade, I really liked your use of titles. You know, your actual titles within the talk, the CLI method, kind of even just like the Sleep 60. Yeah, that was creative. I enjoyed that. Thank you for your talk. You know, as an incident response consultant myself, we really don't see as many as I would like to see, you know, Linux engagements. So any and all training in this realm is just extremely welcome. And oh my Lord, thank you for freaking mentioning, hey, don't jump on the box and start running LSOF, let alone other stuff. Log rotations are common, you know, when analyzing Linux environments, especially to us. By the time we get it, the Linux devs have, you know, run everything under the sun. Default short buffers in history, for example, are like, you know, basically swapped out, and we're like, cool story, bro. So yeah, again, thank you for your talk. Very, very cool. Anything you want to lead us off here with to discuss up front?
I mean, the big thing is, I mean, this talk kind of was really meant to show how easy it is to set something up at home like this. If you don't have Linux skills, and I know a lot of people work in Linux environments, you can get the skills, set it up. But a big part of this is I strongly suggest people set up the lab. Don't follow the script that sets it up for you. There's a place for that, but half of this is just learning to shoot yourself in the foot and rebuild it and continue to remake it and redo it again. Because a lot of those same skill sets are what's going to help you figure out what's normal in a Linux environment, what's not normal, where you should look for things, where you shouldn't look for things. And a lot of IR is like, you know, baseline, what's normal? What's the context for this? So having some of that hands-on experience is super helpful. You don't have to know everything, but it's good to have a lot of those basics down.
Do you find that you or your organization, or even just folks who run in your circle, if you will, end up working a decent number of Linux, like just Nix-based engagements?
It's kind of a mix. I go to Amy. Obviously, we have a ton of servers. We have a shared hosting fleet. We have, you know, the whole corporate side of the house. So I mean, there's a good mix of Windows and Linux, because a lot of what we do is web servers. Of course, Linux is huge there for us. So it really kind of depends what environment you're talking about. We have a decent mix of both, but we're probably a little unique in that. You know, there's not a lot of shops that probably have, you know, 100,000 plus servers where 60, 70% are Linux. You know, it's so that's definitely a challenge. It's a challenge for us hiring. You know, usually you get like the Windows side of the house. You know, people got that down super easy, but Linux is a challenge. But incident-wise, it can be kind of either one. It also, you know, kind of like I mentioned in the talk, it depends on what you're talking about. If it's a workstation or a laptop, you're more likely to see Windows incidents. Kind of depends on the server and what environment, but I would say it's surprising, like a 50-50 split for us.
Well, you get to work more than I do then. So it's very, very cool. You have a preferred Linux distro? What's your flavor? What you like?
I mean, I just kind of go with the easy classic CentOS. We'll see coming up how that works out with CentOS 8 end of life now being shorter than Cent 7, but Cent 7 still using 2.7, Python 2.7, which is end of life. So that'll be a challenge for a lot of orgs. But I think, you know, ultimately it's CentOS is still going to be my favorite. Red Hat related is always good for me.
Yep. I RPM systems, I never personally loved them. I went to the Debian side myself, and it's just always funny how it ends up being like a, you know, Vim versus Nano, or it's like, no, it's stupid. Aptitude's better, and all this silly stuff. Hey,
I
look, we
mean,
have.
really, it's just a Mac package manager. That's the only difference. You just got to learn, learn Linux and then figure out the package manager. That's the only difference.
Yeah, right. So we got a question here in the chat. Two of them actually. One of them is, so you mentioned not getting on a host to run commands. Want to go more in depth on that?
Ooh, yeah, I would definitely say, as an org, like particularly if you're doing security, there's like different levels of maturity. So being able to alert and hop on the host, figure out what happened, and stuff like that is one level. Obviously, you always want to strive to be more mature, more secure. And I think part of that is being able to triage or investigate a host without actually logging in, without potentially exposing your credentials, without kind of ruining that forensically sound, disk image. Whether or not you can take a disk image and quarantine that machine, I mean, that's another part of the maturity level too. But instilling at the very beginning that if you hop on the box and you're running commands, you're potentially destroying data you could use, right? Do you need a memory dump? Cool, you're running stuff. You're blasting some of that memory out if it's not in use. So that's one thing I would suggest. Like Velociraptor or something for EDR that you can use to not have to be in the box. OS Core can do certain things, but like I kind of mentioned, like Salt, Ansible, anything that could run remotely, do commands for you. You can write a shell script. You can do it. A huge portion of like the enterprise triage tools, it's just PowerShell scripts and shell scripts. So there's no reason you can't recreate that yourself. It's just a little bit more work up front. But that's why I strongly suggest don't get on the box. Do everything you can to avoid that. And if you are getting on the box, if that credential you're using is tied to 80 or whatever, okay, cool, you're burning that when you get off that box. But ideally, you either have a specific local account or something you can kill. You're not going to reuse those credentials. Just assume that they're gone.
I absolutely love the fact that you discuss using essentially an agent that is already there, or in the sense that it should already be there. Salt, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, whatever. Something going into a high state, whatever term they use Salt last, right? So the ability to use what already is there, it does such a great job of avoiding additional stomping that you'd be doing by bringing your toolbox into the environment. And consulting, we see it all the damn time. In a Windows environment, they bring in a bunch of PS tools and they're running like, Process Hacker. And then we're like, okay, well, the threat actor dropped Process Hacker, but then we see you drop. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Who would install a PS exec and why? How many times did they stomp on that same service?
I think a lot of folks just don't realize that when they do those kinds of things, like when they run PS exec, it's installing a service remotely. And you're like, you know what I'm saying? It's just this huge thing that people think they're just taking a quick look and then, oh, we'll pull the consulting group or bother with our cyber insurance later. And then, but by doing that, you're already causing problems. Stop it. So I really like that, folks. A lot more companies these days are deploying things like Salt and Ansible and shit. So I love that. That's cool. Thank you for mentioning that. There's another question in here. View on Red Hat support or Oracle. Is it of or Oracle? It says or Oracle.
Probably or is going to be my guess. Honestly, that's going to really kind of depend on your org. Obviously, if you go to Red Hat, you have a lot more. If you actually pay for Red Hat support, you get a lot more like, was it like Satellite or whatever the package management thing is? A lot more bells and whistles there. I think I haven't looked too much into Oracle's thing, but it's Oracle, so assume that there's going to be a sale at some point there. That's probably a fair assessment. But I mean, go with whatever works best for your org. Was it Cloud Linux is also doing their own fork. So if you're a Cloud Linux shop and they do a lot of custom kernel stuff, they're already a fork of CentOS. They're going to actually do and maintain their own fork. Another option for a lot of people, because Cloud Linux, if you don't know, is another group that they offer kind of like extended support. So you can buy like end of life CentOS 6 packages from them. You can buy a support package. So even if CentOS isn't releasing security patches, they're backported. That's just a paid thing, but that's, if you're stuck in Cent 6 at end of life and trying to get onto something more secure, that can give you a little bit more time. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge for a lot of orgs because CentOS was assumed to be kind of the free version of Red Hat that, when you didn't want to pay for it.
Another question we have here in the chat: is there a room or a path for IR specializing in Linux with very little experience in the internals of Windows?
I think so. The challenge there is, I mean, obviously the number of jobs that require Linux only is kind of few and far between. So like anytime that you severely specialize, right, you're kind of narrowing your scope of potential places you can work. But I think there's absolutely a place for it, just like there's a place for Mac OS X, right, or Mac OS Sweden, whatever you want to call it nowadays. There, you can specialize there too, but when you do so, you kind of limit yourself. But you don't need to know Windows internals at all for Linux. It actually probably almost helps you if you don't, because you don't have any preconceived notions. You can learn from the ground up. But like kind of mentioned, like IR workflow itself doesn't change depending on what operating system you're on. It's you still kind of follow the same workflow, the same steps. Just where you go to look for persistence is different. What the normal looks like is different. The data you can get in and out is different. But Linux has its own challenges. A lot of it's just tooling. It's catching up, but tooling is a big one.
I love that you said that about potentially not. It's kind of like when someone moves from one martial art to another. If you've trained, classically in karate, like a Shotokan-based karate for like, even 5-10 years, and then you move to something else, like you're just gonna have those roots no matter what. It's really hard to break that. Windows, not only is Windows an absolute snitch, but its file system, the NTFS, is such a snitch. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, here's my MFT and here's my USN journal, and oh, yay. All right. And then the EXT is like, meh. It's very, very different.
Turn journaling on and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like, you look at someone who's gone through, like the SANS 500 Windows forensic poster, if you're familiar. Shout out to SANS, one of our in-kind sponsors. You see that and you're looking at all these registry locations like, damn. And then you go to Linux and you're like, var, log, I want all that. I mean, like, what I'm saying? To start off, it's so different. So it can be really useful, maybe even to start with Linux, just to get that response feel of where to go and understanding that, and then opening it up to Windows. I don't know.
Yeah, Linux sometimes feels like there's less places to hide until you get into rootkit territory. Versus Windows, like you mentioned, it's like, okay, cool, I've got these folders that auto run, I got these registry keys that auto run, and there's like a million of them, and then like every user has its own multiplied of that. And Linux is like, okay, well, I can throw it in Etsy and D, rc.d, I can do a cron job. Okay, I'm kind of out. Yeah, it's a little bit more limited. So there's a little bit less targets on Linux, but yeah, they each have their own unique challenge. They're both fun.
Yeah. Another one for you. Zero trust networks. Are they a myth? And how does it affect IR in Linux?
Doesn't affect IR in Linux because the best way I can put that is you should never assume you're safe because of your network topology, right? So like, I wouldn't say that zero trust networks are a myth. I would say that it's extremely, extremely difficult to actually do it correctly. That's going to be a huge challenge. I don't think anybody really is. Still have to do. My dog's going crazy. Hold on. Gonna have to suffer. So zero trust networking is super hard to do. So you just have to assume you're still going to have to do IR. It's not going to change IR. It might change your kind of what risk you have. As far as like what's actually out there, what's visible. But ultimately, there's still going to be risk. It's still going to be IR.
Very important question. What kind of dog is barking?
One's a Chihuahua, if you haven't guessed, but I'm still going. And there's a Bichon and a Bichon poop.
Nice. We're in the era of remote workers, man. It wouldn't be a conference, let alone any conference call throughout the day without multiple dogs going nuts. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
Perfectly fine. Another one for you. How do you interface with teams like DevOps during IR work?
That's actually always a challenge. Because the better your teams get at DevOps, the more hands-on they want to be, and the more they want to mess up your IR. Is the best way to put that, right? Because they want to get in there, they want to fix the solution. They might have the knowledge and skill set to do it or to find what's wrong, but they're going to be on the box. They're going to be touching your data. So the best thing you can do is, just like the secure development lifecycle, get in there early with those teams, make those relationships. If there's a big team, like to designate, like, hey, you're the one SME security guy for your team. If you guys see something weird, train that guy on incident response. What's the process? How does he communicate with IR? What should and should he not do? What data does he need to bring to the IR team to get things started? So that you kind of have, a sleeper agent in each DevOps team to help you do IR. Because that person is also going to help you, depend on your documentation, but how does this application work? Does it have application specific logs that are not going to the SIEM? Is it going somewhere else? That's somebody who's going to be an SME on that application and that product, that architecture that can help the IR team out. And then simultaneously, IR train that guy on the basics of IR so he doesn't stomp on the investigation, but so that he can work with IR to actually make things work better and easier.
I like that. That's good. All right, let's see. We have time for maybe one or two more. The questions really picked up here. I think people are starting to realize, like, yeah, IR and Linux. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Dang.
Yeah, wait a minute.
It's not just WordPress getting popped.
Not that it's not just WordPress. not that
that's a big chunk.
Yeah, I almost busted myself out. Never mind. Never used WordPress in my life. Never mind. There were some good questions. I'm just making sure we hit them all here. And it looks like pretty much hit most of those. All right, awesome. Drupal getting, Drupal, any of the big CMSs. All right, cool. Yeah. So we'll call it there for questions. Anything you want to wrap up with? Anything? Shout outs? Whatever.
No, I mean, love CactusCon, been coming for years. Super excited to be able to talk this year. So plan to be back.
Great. We'd love to have you back. We thank you for loving us. We're going to go ahead and kick off another prize giveaway right now. We just got a winner for the Learning Python for Forensics, Leverage the Power of Python in Forensic Investigations. And that is BlackBerry Security Services Incident Response's own Chapin Bryce's digital book. And that is going out to, wait a minute, are you cheating? Blitz. Didn't Blitz win something earlier? He did. They did. No Starch Press. Oh, Blitz found the cheat. Blitz is winning all this stuff now. Cool. So we got that going, and we're going to now instantiate two different giveaways. We're going to do a Beyond the Basic Stuff with Python, a physical book provided by No Starch Press. So let's go ahead and get that one going right now. That is a physical book. So that will actually be shipping out from my area. So west side of the Phoenix area. Technically, I guess we could do a pickup. You can make it all shady and make it feel like it's a Craigslist thing. That always works. And we're also going to give out a Bishop Fox Moleskin notebook. This guy right here. This little booger butt. Oh, let's see. I can't see myself. Can you see it? There you go. A little Bishop Fox logo on there. Ah. So you got this little guy right here. That's going to be going out. Just add that little sucker in right now. These are, by the way, two separate giveaways. So I'm going to set this little sucker up here. And there we go. So those are both available now. If you go to the giveaways channel just below the announcements, you can start. Oh, okay, you have. The numbers are flying up already. Great. All right. Well, Wade, thank you very, very much. We truly appreciate it. A great view into something that a lot of folks don't see, including folks who have worked in like SOC environments for many years. They may have never had to touch Linux for response. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.